Protecting my peace for so long, a little too good, now I'm so low. Watching reruns of the same shows, almost everybody on my no-show. Even with green lights I don't go. Never been sure, no I don't know. How does everybody have to let go of the ego? Don't go out nearly as much as I should. Barely know the way around my neighborhood. I'm ruminating, I feel no good. Not living life like I know I could. Like I know I could. Like I know I should. Like I know I could. Like I know I could. Like I could. If you would show me, yeah. If you would show me, yeah, yeah. If you would show me, yeah, yeah, yeah. I spent so much time daydreaming, and now I don't know how I'm feeling. Don't know who is the real me. Might need my help, and I thought I needed. I can see it. Need more healing, more believing, less deceiving. I don't go out nearly as much as I should. Barely know the way around my neighborhood. I'm ruminating, I feel no good. Not living life like I know I could. Like I know I could. Like I know I should. Like I know I could. Like I know I could. Like I could. If you would show me, yeah. If you would show me, yeah, yeah. If you would show me, yeah, yeah. I might need therapy too. Help dilute all the bad news, 'cause I just can't deal with the lose-lose situations you have to go through. I think I need therapy now. Recycling all the same doubts. Heard it a million times, 'cause I tell myself all the same lies. I might need therapy too. Help dilute all the bad news, 'cause I just can't deal with the lose-lose situations you have to go through. I think I need therapy now. Recycling all the same doubts. Heard it a million times, 'cause I tell myself all the same lie. Don't go out nearly as much as I should. Barely know the way around my neighborhood. I'm ruminating, I feel no good. Not living life like I know I could. Like I know I could. Like I know I should. Like I know I could. Oh, if you would show me. If you would show me, yeah. If you would show me, yeah, yeah. I had a dream last night. Did everything I never do in real life. I stepped into a room, told everyone to be quiet, 'cause I had something to say. Blew everybody away, wear whatever I want. Dressed in a gown, everybody's like, why, where you going? Nowhere special, just going to the store. I think I'd have it all, tell you I have even more. Picking a plate, being a plate, she is unruly. Never seen her like this, didn't think it existed, no truly. Don't get in her way, she's not here to play, she'll get moody. But don't mistake this girl for being me, 'cause these are dream rules. This is someone else, I'm not myself, no, no. 'Cause these these are dream rules. This is someone else, I'm not myself, no. Living in my dreams all night. Living in my dreams all night. Living in my dreams, living in my dreams all night. Living in my dreams, living in my dreams. She can make all the problems disappear. She could tell you the things you wanna hear. She could read your mind and that you could believe all the little lies you tell yourself at night. Never get it wrong, it's always right. Making the plate, being the plate. She is on a roll, she's on a roll. Never seen her like this, didn't think it existed, no truly. Don't get in the way, she's not here to play, she'll get moody. But don't mistake this girl for being me, 'cause these are dream rules. This is someone else, I'm not myself, no. 'Cause these are dream rules. This is someone else, I'm not myself, no. Living in my dreams, 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 tears on my dreams, living in my dreams, living in my dreams, living in my dreams.
We're in trances, going off to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty-handed. You like the fast life, you like to drive, get down and dirty, act like the bad guy. You want some love, you like when you feel like calling at midnight. You got the best of me, you got me losing sleep. I didn't hope for, baby, I was hoping maybe that you'd cross my path. I've been sinking lately, and it's hard to move. Think I'm stuck on you. We're in trances, going off to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty-handed. I wonder, would you love me better if I go? I'm not home. I wonder, can we trust the stars above to let us know? Let go. We only get this life, no guarantees. The stars that I'm find out your passion trail and try to keep an open mind, hiding it by myself. No guarantees you'll find me. Said if it's faith you'll find me, leaving the past behind. We're in trances, going off to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty-handed. I wonder, would you love me better if I go? I'm not home. I wanna know, can we trust the stars above to let us know? I'd go. Whoa.
Peace, everyone. We are back again for this Black History Month 2024. Many of us are still saying the same old, preaching the same old, talking about the same old sob stories of what do we do now that Massa has freed us off the plantation. What do we do now that we're no longer on the slave ships going through the quote-unquote Middle Passage? But what we are striving to do this month is to make us aware of the truth, what really happened, what really occurred, who we really are. Because sadly, many of us believe that we are so-called Africans from so-called slave ships brought to America to work on plantations. So our goal this month is to just do that, just to put out the truth. Today we're going to talk about the POW'S of the Civil War. These are the prisoner of war of the so-called Civil War. Now, I'm not saying that there was no one fighting. I'm not saying that there was no bloodshed. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is Congress never declared war. The president never declared an actual war. But what was declared time and time after again, it was mentioned even in legislation and deliberation, was this thing called the Great Rebellion. At the same time that they said this Civil War was going on. So today we're just going to go and show who the real POWs are, because for some reason we just wasn't taught who the real POWs were, who the real POWs are. So we're going to start off with a newspaper article. And this is from the Atlanta Journal, the Atlanta Constitution. And this was from December 30th, 1984, page 85. I'm gonna share my screen. If you haven't already, make sure that you like, share, make sure that you subscribe. Once you subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you'll always be reminded and notified that we are live or we have uploaded a new video for you to check out. So here we are. Newspaper. We'll blow it up just a little bit. If I change the screen, y'all, and I'm reading something and you can't see what I'm reading, let me know in the chat so I can make sure that the screen is changed, so everybody can follow with me. Peace to everyone who has come out. Honors to each and every one of you all who support every time we do go live. Shout out to Brother Neil Bay. Shout out to His Majesty the Magnificent Ill. Honors to all of you supporters. Let's go. Roswell, owed its existence to the shallow ford crossed by the old Hightower Trail in the days before white men gained control of the region. In the days before so-called white men gained control of the region. Well, I thought that the white man owned all of this. Wasn't we working on these plantations? And the white man was running everything, and this is not what this Atlanta Constitution is saying. The Atlanta Constitution is saying in the days before the white man gained control of the region. So let's see how the so-called white man began to gain control over the region. And it took them many years after. They didn't really start getting anything popping until the passing of the Mann Act in 1910. It says, today's shallow road in Atlanta perpetuates the geographical title. Geographical title, my bad. Garrett's men secured the ford, simultaneously taking stock of the assets of the captured town. So what they're doing is, every time they go into a city, a chocolate city, so-called, they're taking all of the assets, because these are tactics of war. You go in and you take control of the transportation routes. You take control of the water supply. You take control of the aerial transportation. You take control of the gas stations. This is what y'all need to be on the lookout for. Because I don't think we really believe and understand that right now a great rebellion is going on right now, today. We're actually witnessing what was going on in the 1860s in real time. And the crazy part about it is, you got Moors on social media that's talking about who a Mason and who not a Mason. You got Moors on social media that's supposed to be leaders that's talking about who's sleeping with who and who ain't sleeping with who. Leaders that's supposed to be saying, hey, make sure that you all are stocking up. You're going to need more than 90 days. Make sure your household is prepared to protect itself. Make sure you got your trust set up. Make sure your family estate is properly being managed. Get all your affairs in order. But these supposed to be the leaders. And you have grown adults that's actually following this, listening to this. And then you have those that don't say anything but, well, the prophet said, but they're not telling you anything of what to do. Not give you any solutions or resolution. everybody wants to be the head. Everybody wants to be in charge. It says, the Garrod's complete surprise, he found that the town he captured was a major manufacturing center. Right? So this is like any city that you go into, any major city you go into, and you go into the districts. So you got the financial districts, you got the diamond districts, the gold districts, the fabric districts, the textiles districts, manufacturing districts. Every major city has them. And this was before the so-called white man gained control over the region. So then who created these districts? Who was doing all this manufacturing? Who actually owned all of this industry? Said, where most of the employees were women. Roswell King, a coastal plantation owner, had discovered in 1835 that Vickery Creek could be dammed in such fashion that it would provide abundant water power. Water power. Water power. That means you are powering by water. Not electricity. Not solar power. Not wind power. But water power. What happened to water power? If we was powering factories with water, what happened? It says he built a 30-foot dam and waterfall with the wooden mill race, and within 3 years had Roswell mills in operation. By 1850, King's operation required 5 bales of cotton a day for production of shirting, yarn, and the coarse, heavy cloth called Osnaburg. In the decade before the war, about 150 women worked in the mills 11 hours a day, 6 days a week. So we're not talking about, 8-hour days. We're talking about 11-hour days. It says the fighting between North and the South brought new and imperative demand for cloth. No Georgia community was better prepared to meet that need than was Roswell. By 1864, it had 2 cotton mills and 1 woolen mill, plus a sturdy 2-story apartment dwelling for workers. So not only did you work there, but you lived there. You never had to leave, because you work 6 days a week, 11 hours every day. So you was provided rooming and boarding. It says, Garrard and his men burned all 3 mills. That night, he reported to Sherman. One of the cotton mills said he was equipped with 216 looms. All had been working at capacity, making cloth, thread, and rope for the rebels. For the rebels. For the rebels, because it was called the Great Rebellion. Several thousand yards of cloth were confiscated. He has been momentarily puzzled by the woolen mill, he wrote. Though it looked much like other Roswell structures, he found a French flag flying over it. After consideration, he decided that the flag was a rebel ruse, so he ignored the possibility of an international incident and ordered the mill below the flag to be destroyed too. There is some evidence that a French businessman had a small financial interest in the mill, but the flag was merely a ploy. On July 7th, near Chattahoochee, Sherman received Garrard's report. He then told his subordinate, I had no idea that the factories at the Roswell remained in operation. He then gave his total approval to the burning of the factories, which he had not ordered. But the use of the French flag at Roswell triggered an outburst of the famous Sherman temper. You will arrest the owners and employees of all the factories and send them under guard. Charged with treason to Marietta, he ordered. Charged with treason. I will see as to any man in America hoisting the French flag and then devoting his labor and capital and supplying armies in open hostility to our government. Should you, under the impulse of anger, hang the wretch, I approve the act beforehand. During the previous month, Sherman's fury at rebel tricks in northwest Georgia had mounted. See, if you were flying if you was flying another nation's flag, and during this great rebellion, Sherman used that as an excuse to say, well, that's insurrection. Yeah, they need to be hanged for insurrection. He said, seeking to protect his railroad lines from raiders, he had requested from Washington permission to make arbitrary arrests. Arbitrary arrests. That means you can make an arrest. However, you have to go through a court case of arbitration. Because again, this is the quote-unquote Civil War. So that means that this is a civil matter. This has nothing to do with insurrection. Sherman is reaching. He says, then to deport rebels to Lower California or even to Central America. Sherman declared he could not and would not tolerate guerrillas. U.S. Secretary of War Edwin M. Stanton had not endorsed the deportation scheme, and flying the French flag in Roswell couldn't be called an act of guerrilla war, because it's not. Again, Sherman was reaching. Yet it provided the excuse Sherman had been seeking. In a long telegram, Sherman ordered Girard to arrest all people, male and female, connected with those factories, no matter what the clamor, and let them foot it, under guard to Marietta, whence I will send them by rail cars to the north. See, what Sherman really wanted to do was he just wanted to kill them all off. But the Department of War was like, no, you can't just kill them all off, because you only have arbitrary. First of all, your authority is only arbitrary. It is a civil matter. That was the whole thing with the slaves. It was all civil matters. Why? Because we're talking about property, legal and lawful property. That's what we're talking about. That's just like if you're fighting over a home. It's the same thing. So no emancipation being proclaimed can free property. You can't just steal someone's property. It is illegal. This is the reason why this was a quote-unquote civil war, dealing with civil matters in arbitration. He said, the poor women will make a howl. Let them take their children and clothing, provided they have the means of hauling, or you can spare them. Meanwhile, in Roswell, Union General Greenville Dodge, a railroad surveyor and engineer for whom Dodge City was later named, was busy superintending an attempt to rebuild the Chattahoochee River and bridge with lumber salvaged from demolished factories. So it was going around just demolishing everything. All of our industry. These are acts of war without declaring a war. Also in Roswell, Girard celebrated the renewal of cordial relations with Sherman and ordered a ration of whiskey for each of his men. Only the second time he provided it since the war began. Many Yankee soldiers gambled with their whiskey until some had accumulated a pint or even a quart. A number of men, gloriously drunk, began making ardent love to women who had worked in Roswell factories. To provide a separation, one commander, A.O. Miller, ordered an entire brigade to move a mile north of town. So they're just raping the women. Soon Sherman's deportation order began to be implemented. Precisely how many women were to be treated as traitors and sent to the north, no one knows. Most estimate range between 350 to 400. One account says the two of the female workers were black. The two of the female workers were black. During a period of about 72 hours, the Roswell women and some of their children were sent about 16 miles from Marietta. It followed the approximate route of present-day Georgia Highway 120. That's always been the highway. Always. The anguish must have been severe. Union Captain David P. Cunningham, in a later home, reported that he was distressed to witness how the women wept. Sherman had said it would be fine to let them walk. Girard was more humane. He assembled about 110 official U.S. Army wagons, each about 10 feet long and able to carry a load of more than a ton. Right in his recollections, decades later, General Dodge was under the impression that the women left the smoking town on horseback. According to him, each member of the regiment of Gerard's cavalry took one of the operatives on his horse, and this way they were all taken to Marietta. This wildly implausible account is contradicted by dispatches sent by New York Tribune reporter who said he personally saw the 400 factory girls loaded into 110 wagons. Only think of it, he added, 400 weeping and terrified Ellens, Susans, and Maggies transported in the seatless and springless army wagons away from their lovers and brothers of the sunny South. And all this for the offense of weaving tent cloth and spinning stock yarn? Sherman, you doing all this? What is your real purpose? All of this? For some material? Said General George H. Thomas, reporting to Sherman from Marietta by telegram, said the Roswell factory hands, 400 to 500 in number, have arrived. Most of them are women. I can only order them transportation to Nashville, where it seems hard to set them adrift. What had best be done with them? This is crazy. This is crazy. He said, tersely, Sherman replied, I have ordered General Webster at Nashville to dispose of them. They will be sent to Indiana. Brief accounts in Nashville newspapers supplemented by reports from Kentucky and Indiana suggested that most of all the women who incurred Sherman's wrath by making cloth for rebels reached a northern city. On July 21st, the New Albany, Indiana Daily Ledger reported the train, which arrived at Louisville from Nashville last evening, brought up from the South 249 women and children who are sent by order of General Sherman to be transferred north of the Ohio River. There are no clear accounts of why the number was then reported at 249 women and children. Even in the emotional climate of Civil War, staunch supporters of the Union and its military leaders questioned Sherman's actions with respect to the Roswell women. The capture was a novel one in his history of wars, report the Cincinnati Commercial. So they're saying, man, this ain't never happened before. Like, really? You should have left those women and those children here. Why would you do that? What would cause you to do that, Sherman? Editors of the New York Commercial Advertiser wrote, it is hardly conceivable that an officer, Sherman, bearing a U.S. commission of Major General, should have so far forgotten the commonest dictates of decency and humanity as to drive 400 penniless girls hundreds of miles away from their homes. No formal justification of Sherman's deportation of the women was ever offered by U.S. officials. Whether his actions were legal, strictly speaking, is moot. There are none. Send the women north, he did, with or without a defensible explanation for his actions. More personal and even more obscure is the question of what happened to so many women and children. Notice of them in official records ends at Nashville, where they actually dispersed in Indiana. And if so, did they sever all ties with their former existence in Georgia? By necessity or by choice, some probably remained north of the Ohio River, while others no doubt tried to return home as soon as they could. Roswell women made up the biggest known body of civilians deported from Georgia, but many other individuals and families were herded on boxcars and sent north. In 1934, a man named Walker Alonzo Sexton wrote the DeKalb County Health Department seeking evidence for a birth certificate. He said he was an infant when Union soldiers forced his family to leave Decatur and travel to train northward, eventually into the heartland of Indiana. At every station in town, he wrote, the freight dropped off a number of refugees. This is why it was only 249 when they got to Indiana, because they would purposely drop some off at every station. But what is the purpose of doing this? Said at every station in town, he wrote, the freight dropped off a number of refugees according to the population. We were put off at the little town of Shelbyville. Our first shelter was an empty warehouse with 12 other families. All in town flocked to see us. Employment was soon provided for all. No one knows how many thousands of Georgians were forcibly resettled in the North. In the case of the Roswell women and children, it was merely a nearly forgotten sidelight to brutal civil war. Armies were in collision, cities were being burnt, generals on both sides were being shot from the saddle. Thousands of men were dying and tens of thousands were receiving battlefield wounds. Under such circumstances, there was little time or writing materials with which to record the movements of obscure refugees. The Roswell Historical Society has no information about them. Neither does the Georgia State Archives, the University of Georgia Libraries, or the Atlantic Historical Society. The Indiana State Library in Indianapolis has a few newspaper accounts of arrivals in the state, but no information concerning subsequent events. 20 years after the mass deportation, editors of the Confederate Veteran magazine guessed that few, if any, of these poor women ever saw their native soil again. In 1932, George Lewis Russell, an uncle of U.S. Senator Richard B. Russell, investigated the puzzle but found no answers. Is it possible, in the turmoil of war, that several hundred Georgia women could have vanished without a trace? Do you have any or know someone who has a letter, a diary, segment, a family Bible, or an old newspaper clipping that will throw light on the fate of the Roswell women? Copies will be appreciated along with oral history from family or community sources. Write Webb Garrison, Dixie Living, the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, Atlanta, Georgia. So what happened to these POWs? Who were these POWs? All right, because they said women and children, women and children, women and children were the POWs. What these women and children look like? Peace to Dawood, who came on. Peace, Adrian, for coming on. Peace, Brother Elwood Evansville. What do these women and children look like? But this is what they look like. These are the women and children who are the POWs. Roswell wasn't the only place. Just so happened that Roswell had so many Now, normally when you look at this photo, you'll say, well, those are just Union soldiers with their slave. Right? Because that's what we was taught. We was taught that we were the slaves. And the so-called white man was the master. No, these are the POWs, and the Union so-called Union soldiers. Right? The reason why they were dropping some off at other stations before they got to Indiana is because they're holding us hostage. These are prisoners of war, hostages. And they've been playing in our face for a long time. They've been playing with us for a long time. Now, a lot of people was going to be like, well, no, that's not a hostage. Why does he have a gun to her head and his hand on her back? Make that make sense. I'm going to put the link in the chat for anyone who would like to come up on the stage. If you have any comments or any questions you'd like to ask or share, you definitely can. Make it make sense. Why would he have a gun to her head? This is not just a pose. See, this is how they actually won the Great Rebellion. Because they kept stealing our women and children, holding them hostage. That's right, Brother Chairman. Looks like hostage activity to me. Exactly. And I'm going to show you how, when we look at these so-called Civil War pictures, these photos that they've been showing year after year after year, talking about this is the reason why we went to the so-called Civil War, why the so-called Civil War was fought, why we needed to be freed as so-called slaves. I'm going to show you how these pictures were staged. Now, I already showed you how they was just making up the pictures. Right? With so-called, what's his name? Whipped Peter. AKA Gordon. Let's get it. These are the soldiers. And these are the refugees. These aren't slaves. These are refugees. Pardon me, not refugees, but POWs. Prisoners of war. These are our women and children being stolen. Because the owners of the factories, of the businesses, of the plantations was us. A lot of the difference between the slaves that was down south compared to the ones up north was because we had industry, we had factories, we had so much business that we was doing, dealing with raw goods and services. They were treated much better than they were up north. No, up north it was like sweatshops. Up north, you remember? Y'all remember the movie about Annie? It's a Hard Knock Life. Yeah. Child workers was it was something else. Yeah, it was real bad for them. For the slaves, it was. Up north. But in order for these admixture, you can tell a lot of them have admixture in them when you look at these so-called soldiers of these unions. You can tell that they have admixture in them. A lot of them were extremely upset. Again, right? A union is to bring about fair and equal pay, representation, fair and equal working hours, not putting one employee over another employee, not putting the managers, supervisors, presidents, owners over the employees, but giving them fair advantages in the workspace. See, Abraham Lincoln was a union president. That's right. Orphan Annie. Is another one. Being held hostage. It's not a slave. It's a hostage. These are hostages. What this says, Camp Brightwood, DC, contraband. 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 1520s, smuggling, illegal or prohibited traffic. Contraband. Didn't they put them on the trains? Didn't they put them in wagons and traffic them? Didn't they take the textiles, the goods? Smuggle goods, anything by law forbidding to be imported or exported. From French, a smuggling. From Older Italian, unlawful dealing. Etymologically contrary to proclamation. A command or something other Germanic source. As an adjective prohibited by law, proclamation, or treaty. 1650s. Contraband. That's crazy. It's one of the favorite ones right here. It's one of my favorite ones right here because this is one of the ones that show you that these pictures were staged. This wasn't no real war. This was a hostile takeover to take over and steal industry. From who? Us. Look at this. Well, you got the TP right here. But then look at that in the back. What's that in the back? It's a whole brick building. Who? Tell me this. If you got whole big brick buildings, why would you be in the TP? I mean, make that make sense. These supposed to be generals and captains. Why are you outside in the teepees? Got him. Man, we've been played, y'all. We really been lied to. Really been lied to. Because if the South had all of these slaves that was supposed to have been so-called black people, so-called African Americans, then why is it every picture that is shown, there's not hundreds and even thousands as they claim in these pictures? The only time you see the hundreds and the thousands is on these drawings that's created. But on these pictures, you got one, maybe two so-called slaves, aka hostages, being held for ransom. There's no way that you have an entire huge brick building in the back, but you out living in living in the tents. Come on now, stop playing. It's not real. November 15, 1864, burning of Atlanta. Sherman was doing a lot of burning. On November 15, 1864, U.S. forces led by General William Tecumseh Sherman burned nearly all of the captured city of Atlanta, Georgia. Dang, Sherman, you mean Roswell, Georgia? Why you keep burning all of our industry? Atlanta's Roundhouse, which housed the city's rails infrastructure hub, was left in ruins following the city's sack by Union forces in 1864. The destruction of Southern rail lines devastated the Confederacy. These men don't look like no pale-skinned Europeans to me. This event occurred near the end of the U.S. Civil War, during which 11 states in the American South seceded from the rest of the nation. The Confederate States of America was formed to maintain the institution of enslaving people of African descent. You hear it, right? You see it, right? Because this is what they've been teaching. But we're not of African descent. So who they talking about when they keep saying African descent? Because it ain't us. More than 3,000 buildings, including businesses, hospitals, homes, and schools, were destroyed. Businesses, hospitals, homes, and schools were destroyed. The Atlanta campaign aims to cut off Atlanta's vital supply lines that provided Confederate troops with reinforcements, ammunition, and goods such as clothes, first aid medicines, and equipment. Again, because this is not a declared war. This is a deliberate attack on our industry. As Atlanta lay smoldering, Sherman and his troops began their audacious, infamous march to the sea. A massive scorched earth campaign to end the port city of Savannah, Georgia, on December 21st. Yeah, gone. Why would he want to why would he want to destroy all of our industry? Make it make sense. Did y'all know that General T. Sherman owned a bank? Out in San Francisco, California, before he joined the Union Army. He was a president of a bank. Sherman's Bank in Jackson Square. Building at 804 Montgomery Street on site that housed Bank of Lucas, Turner & Co. in the 1850s. The bank that General Sherman built. Bank of Lucas, Turner & Company, 800 to 804 Montgomery Street. The construction of this bank, completed in 1853, was supervised by William Tecumseh Sherman, who later in his career as a Civil War general made history by laying waste to much of the state of Georgia. As the most destructive general in what was then the bloodiest war in human history. The first war in which mechanical means of mass slaughter were effectively employed. Sherman's name is still reveled in the South. Southerners visiting San Francisco may gaze upon this bank and bemoan Sherman's abandoning the business of construction for that of destruction. So what would a banker, why would a banker, make it make sense? Why would a banker destroy all of the industry? Wow. His path from South Carolina through Georgia to the coast, Savannah. That's the industry trail. General James Oglethorpe established the Trustee Garden in Savannah in 1734. 2 years after the founding of the Georgia Trust, the corporate body that the colony from 1732 until 1752, the corporate body of the colony, was in trust. The corporate body of the colony of Georgia is in trust. The garden comprised about 10 acres to the east of the area then settled. Dedicated to botany and agriculture, it reflected the scientific and commercial aspirations of the trustees and their backers in England. Its growth and demise over the next years reflected the realities of climate, geography, and the lack of people on the ground and consistent support from London to further these aspirations. But what happens to a trust when there's no trustees on the board? See, if I could just wipe out all of the trustees, if I could just blow up and burn up all of the industry as a bank owner, so as a bank owner, I know that I can then become the trustee of the trust. And not only become the trustee of the trust, but then I can take, the children who are the beneficiaries of the trust, and I can give them so-called military lands. put them under military occupation. Because that's what the 40 acres and a mule was. You remember the 40 acres and a mule, right? Y'all remember the 40 acres and a mule, right? Bill Order number 15. Sherman's Bill Order number 15 on January 16, 1865, during the Civil War 1861-65, Union General T. Sherman issued a special Bill Order number 15, which confiscated as Union property a strip of coastline stretching from Charleston, South Carolina to the St. Johns River in Florida, including Georgia's Sea Islands, and the mainland 30 miles in from the coast. The order distributed the roughly 400,000 acres of land to quote-unquote newly freed black families in 40-acre segments. Sherman's order came on the heels of his successful march to the sea from Atlanta to Savannah, and just prior to his march northward into South Carolina. Radical Republicans in the U.S. Congress like Charles Sumner and Thaddeus Stevens for some time had pushed for land redistribution in order to break the back of Southern slaveholders' power. To take over the land. To take over the industry, to take over the bodies, to take over the trust. It's always about the people. It ain't never about, well, I don't like you because you're quote unquote black and I'm quote unquote white. It ain't never what it's been about. It's always been about money. It's always been about industry. It's always been about the land. So feeling pressure from within his own party, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln sent his Secretary of War, Edwin M. Stanton, to Savannah in order to facilitate a conversation with Sherman over what to do with Southern planters' land. And of course, Sherman, the banker, knew exactly what to do with it. See, because he already knew, well, yeah, they're going to file insurance claims on all of the industry that I destroyed, but by the time they get the insurance claims paid out and by the time they start building again, we would have already taken so much land on the coastline that in order for them to get imports and exports off of this coast, they got to come through me now. And then I have now their children, their women, who I put on 40 acres. And they have to pay me for taxes for living on these 40 acres. Y'all don't see how crazy, how manipulative, how calculated this thing actually was on us and still is. Says on January 12th, Sherman and Stanton met with 20 Black leaders of the Savannah community, mostly Baptist and Methodist ministers, to discuss the question of emancipation. Lincoln approved Field Order number 15 before Sherman issued it, just 4 days after meeting with the Black leaders. From Sherman's perspective, the most important priority in issuing the directive was military expediency. It served as a means of providing for the thousands of so-called Black refugees who had been following his army since its invasion of Georgia. No, nobody was following his army. Nobody was following his army. These were hostages. POWs. I want to say thank you to all of you who continue to come out. Thank you for all of you who support. If anyone would like to donate, you can send a Cash App. The Cash App is $SUSCRIBE. We'll be back again. As I said before, we're here all month long, putting out the true information of who we are and what happened to us, why we are in the state that we're in today. These were plans for years. For years. Of how to get us up off of our lands. Plans for years. To indoctrinate us, to make us believe that we're from somewhere that we're not. Shout out again to each and every one of you all who came out. Happy Holy Day to all the Muslims all over the world. Check us out later on. Holy Night is at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can go to you can go to our web page at www.msta805.co. You can also reach us at 877-808-2477. When you go to our website, if you click on join, it'll bring you directly into the meeting. It'll also be live streamed this evening via Facebook. So if you are not following me on Facebook, you can do so. K Glover Ill. Honors to all of our ancestors who were POWs of the Great Rebellion, aka the Civil War. Peace and love, Moors.